On 93.7 The Ticket, where unheard issues get brought to light and every perspective counts. Here are your hosts, Rebecca Pearson and Aniko Renee.
Walk the Herd with 93.7 The Ticket post basketball. Go Huskers. We beat Iowa. Final score 84-80. Is that correct?
84-75.
84-75. Wow. Okay. Not even close. I thought it was closer than that. It was such a great game. For anybody who's tuning in and wishing you had sports talk, you missed the post-game coverage. You got me, Rebecca Pearson, and Kelita Bak as my co-host tonight on Walk the Herd. If you're not familiar with this show, it's all about unheard perspectives, and it's where the unheard are heard, and every perspective counts, whether you agree with us or not. So welcome in, Kelita Bak. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, thanks for being here, and on a night when we've kicked some butt in basketball.
Absolutely, yes.
It's the best ever, and it's buzzing down here downtown. It's 70-some degrees here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And if you want to be a part of our conversation, which I'm sorry is not about basketball, but it is about the youth tonight. We will talk about youth voices today. You can call or text in at 402-464-5685, or you can drop us a chat in the YouTube video, or you can watch us on Allo Channel 961. Of course, we're on X and Facebook, and I'm sure I forgot something important. So please be a part of the conversation if you would like to, and all these recordings are available after the show. So it's going to be a little bit of a short show since we had overtime for the basketball game and a great post-game coverage with Arden Lockenheim. Today is International Women's Day. So we're celebrating a lot of women hosts on shows all day. We started at 8 o'clock, and we'll finish here after Mr. Ricky Simmons, who has his own guest here to celebrate International Women's Day. When I say International Women's Day to you, Kelita, what do you think of?
Oh, I think about all of the women who have made such a difference in the world. I think about strong women, whether that's a single mom or it's Madeline Albright or it's you for leading this station, Rebecca. So it's exciting to think that there's still a day where we can kind of pause and think about all of the women and the contributions that they've made. I think for so many years, women were overlooked often. Yeah. And so I do think that it's important to just have the kind of day where we can celebrate contribution.
Right.
So thank you for including me.
Yeah, it's a special day to have you here as a guest. And of course, March is Women's History Month, if you're not familiar with that. And I think it is important simply because for thousands of years, women weren't as talked about, weren't as available. We would never have been able to do an entire day of broadcasts with women hosts and have 10 or 12 different shows. So it's fun to just celebrate the fact that women have more and more access than they used to. Our show, Walk the Herd, is about unheard perspectives, and Kelita Bak is the VP of Business Development, Vice President, I should say the full thing, Vice President. I like it. Business Development for Nebraska Children and Families Foundation here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And we're going to talk about the youth because this is Kelita's passion area. But why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do at Nebraska Children?
Sure. Thank you. So I grew up here in Lincoln, Nebraska. I left for 30 years. So I'm showing my age on this beautiful day. But yeah, so I spent a lot of time working on behalf of children and families throughout my career. I spent over 20 years in Washington, D.C., doing lobbying and government relations for a number of national nonprofits focused on young people. I led a national nonprofit, which is what brought me to Minnesota after living in D.C. That also is focused on young people and their leadership and using their voices. So it really has been a passion of mine for a long time. I'm very grateful to be back in my hometown of Lincoln, Nebraska, and to be able to work for this statewide nonprofit, Nebraska Children and Families Foundation, helping them to secure resources from both public funds, so whether that's federal funds or state funds, and then matching those with private dollars, which really helps us to extend the kind of work that we're able to do across the state. So we were founded almost 30 years ago with a focus on prevention. So the point of trying to keep young people and their families together, so whether they're children or just to support families who need that support, so they don't end up needing services or being referred to child welfare services or being tied to the juvenile justice system, for example. So really looking at how do we make things easier for families so that they can keep their children, they can stay strong, they can provide the resources that every child in the state of Nebraska needs, and so that all children and families can thrive here in the state. I could talk about them for the whole show, but I don't think that's what you want.
We will do that another time. And I'm on the board of Nebraska Children and Families Foundation, just recently joined the board. And the concept of prevention, I think, is very unique. And the structure of the organization is very unique. And we'll have you back to talk about that particular organization. But tonight, we wanted to talk about some of the unheard perspectives as it relates to the youth voices. And you had a very specific idea in mind based on some of your career that you just talked about that's important to you. So if you're thinking about Walk the Herd, where unheard perspectives are heard and every perspective counts, what strikes you about youth voices? What does that mean?
Yeah, so youth voice is it's kind of a collective term about engaging young people themselves. So when I say young people, it kind of depends on the context, but really it's, kids who are in college or younger. Oftentimes, when I think about youth voice, I'm thinking about people who are in high school or younger, but the age isn't as important as really looking at how do we engage young people themselves in meaningfully being able to contribute their voice. So learning from their experiences. Everybody has a different experience. Everyone has a different story. And if we're trying to improve schools, if we're trying to improve the prevention system, if we're trying to improve out of school time programs, after school programs, whatever that might be, wouldn't you want to first talk to the people who are the users of those programs? So, I certainly can remember what my experience was growing up. I can talk a lot about what my high school years were like, or what my junior high school years were like. I had junior high then, not middle school. Again, I'm dating myself.
I did too. Oh no, it's okay. I did too.
But as much as I might remember what my experience is like, and I do think that there are things that we can learn from that, it's more important to understand what is the context of what young people are experiencing themselves today. Mm-hmm. Their lives are very different. Their school experiences are very different than what mine or yours were. So it's everybody likes to have their voice heard. Mm-hmm. Everybody likes to be asked, well, what was your experience?
Yeah.
What can you bring to the table? And when we don't do that, we miss a whole population of kids who are able to be creative, who are able to build partnerships with adults, who are able to direct their own learning, who are able to have some leadership opportunities. And all of those things foster their ability to be better leaders in their schools and in their homes and in their communities today, but it also gives them a better platform from which to extend well into their future.
Right. And speaking of being heard, Mr. Bakoven, can we hear her? Is she close enough to the microphone?
Yeah. She's doing good.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure, because I'm always right on top of it. And what you have to say is very important. You obviously have either seen, heard, or witnessed, or otherwise experienced a time when some of the youth that you're talking about were not allowed to be heard, or weren't heard as loudly as they needed to be, or something along those lines. Otherwise, this wouldn't be a topic. So where have you seen that? Because when we talk about unheard perspectives, right, it's maybe a situation that someone else is not familiar with, they haven't heard. So where have you seen that?
Everywhere.
Okay, can you be more specific?
I mean, I think you you see it in schools across the country. You see it in organizations across the country. You see it in our the way that we run our businesses, our unicamerals, our state legislatures, our federal government. Lots and lots of programs and education and other things are designed for young people. Rarely are they designed with young people. So
the adults are designing it for the students, kind of a thing. Is it always students, or is it just okay?
No, but I mean, think about what our foster care system looks like, or what it might look like wherever you're listening from. So if you're not hearing from the people who are experiencing that system firsthand, or even after they've exited that foster care system, what could we learn from them if we talk to them individually, and then, or even as a group, or had some focus groups? So I'm not saying that never happens. Of course it happens. And when it does, though, it changes how people look at young people, and it changes how they feel about being able to share what's happening to them, with them, on behalf of them. And it's often where you can find some of those better ideas. How would we change this? Why would we change this? Young people can be significant advocates for themselves and for other youth. So, when I was in high school, I had the opportunity to participate in student council, and that was just an amazing opportunity for me. But the way that it was run, I have to shout out Randy Ernst, who was my high school student council advisor. Many people in Lincoln still know
Nebraska?
him. Yes, here in Nebraska. And that was an incredible experience where we used parliamentary procedure every day. We had a chance to lead what we were doing and to participate in service projects. But it wasn't just whatever he decided. It was, what do you see in the community that needs help? Where do you want to, what is your passion? What does this body want to do? How do you want to approach things? And so it gave that ability to start to lead and to practice those leadership skills. And, as I went on, and, when I was part of boards or helping to manage a board, when I was running an organization, I mean, everybody would still turn to me. Oh, well, parliamentary procedure. What do we do next? And it's all because it was from high school, having learned those things. So by giving, so I know you asked me, where do you see? I mean, I just feel like it could be improved across the board. So I'm not saying that it never happens, because it certainly does, but
you feel like it could happen more. So
yes.
Where can you give an example, without calling anybody out, just a situation where you feel like we could do something even right now?
Yeah. So can I give an example?
You
Can
may.
I call somebody out? Okay.
You may.
So at Nebraska Children and Families Foundation, one of our initiatives is our Connected Youth Initiative. So I like to describe this as where prevention has failed. Now we have young people who are exiting the foster care system. They are, maybe they've experienced the juvenile justice system. Perhaps they find themselves homeless, or parenting, or pregnant. But this population of young people are a little older usually, so high school to early 20s. But as part of our Connected Youth Initiative, we have a youth council. So we're engaging young people in helping us to learn about what they're facing today and how we can learn from them. But we also have legislative days. So it's run by two very talented people at Nebraska Children, who are the adult partners to the young people on this council, where they have the opportunity to research legislative bills that are being heard in front of the unicameral, and to offer their own perspectives, and for them to offer their voice. Here's what my experience is. Here's how this bill would either help to advance some of the things that I found challenging, or here's where perhaps something is still missing from this piece of legislation and where it could be improved. So we bring those young people together. We offer space for them to be able to share what they have, their opinion about some of these pieces of legislation. And we invite members of the unicameral to come and listen to them, so they can hear directly from young people themselves. I mean, they're constituents also, right? But sometimes they don't feel like they're invited to those town halls, or that those are really, that they want to be heard. And so sometimes providing just some different space, or a different platform, or a safe space where they feel like this is important. I do have something to say, and here's an opportunity where I can present my thoughts and my experiences in a way that will be heard.
We're here with Kelita Bak. If you're just joining in, we finished our post-game coverage, and we're now talking about youth in the community here in Lincoln, Nebraska in particular, and making sure that they have voice. I wanted to ask you before we take a break here, Kelita, what is it that is the norm of why we overlook including those voices sometimes? It might just be systemic. It might be we're not. What is it from your perspective is the norm or the unheard perspective that people maybe haven't heard?
I think part of why we do that as a society, and I don't think it's just in the US, is I wish I could explain it. I feel like as we get older, we forget what it's like to be a young person. And we forget what it was like, in the olden days, you would, perhaps our grandparents' time. It's like, well, children should be seen and not heard. Well, we're missing so much by not doing that.
Do parents still say that today?
I hope not.
Gosh,
I don't
such
know.
an old thing, but
It
I know
is an old thing, but yeah. So I think just kind of culturally, I think for a long time, we don't have the same level of expectation. And I feel like kids always rise to the expectations that we have for them. So if you don't expect them to be able to speak, or you don't give them those opportunities, or you don't think that, they can do well on a test, or they can whatever. I mean, you still have to have resources provided to help and support them, of course. And there's a lot of things that go into that, but then they oftentimes will rise to those expectations. So if you trust them and you say, I believe in you, and I want to hear what you're thinking about, and I want to hear what you're doing, and I want you to help co-create this project. I want you to help co-create this plan. I want you to help think about what could you be doing in their community, and then help facilitate that young person to take those steps and to learn what those steps are. Yeah. It's all age appropriate. You're not going to ask a first grader to do the same kind of thing that you would ask, obviously, a junior in high school. But the youth is right. Those are formative years.
They are formative. So whatever
years,
you're doing to engage them, to help develop them. And I think we could talk about that when we come back from the break as to what you've seen about giving the youth some opportunities that maybe we wouldn't have prior to maybe having this way of thinking. So this is Rebecca Pearson and Kelita Bak on Walk the Herd. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Tired of your furnace running overtime this winter? Let Heartland of Nebraska Windows save the day. Upgrade to stunning, energy-saving triple-pane vinyl windows installed by their team of experts. Every window comes with a lifetime warranty on everything, all for a price you can actually afford. Free estimates, flawless replacements, and peace of mind from a family-owned business you can trust. Don't wait. Call Heartland of Nebraska Windows at 402-430-3852 or visit heartlandofnebraskawindows.com today.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and on behalf of the entire Koppel team, we would like to say thank you to all of our loyal customers and employees that have allowed us to become one of the most successful GM dealerships in the country for the past 50 years. So we are celebrating that with some huge discounts. Right now, we have up to $13,500 off MSRP or 0% APR on select new models, and new Blazer EVs are leasing for $279 a month with zero down. So check us out online at koppelcars.com. All deals with approved credit. See dealer for details.
No one's ever explained it this way. That's what we hear at Trade-Offs when you finally see how today's crop insurance tools work with your grain marketing plan, not in isolation. With hail and wind rates increasing and margins already tight, it's time to challenge how you look at crop insurance. It's time to ask better questions. It's time to call Trade-Offs. Call us at 402-858-7501 or visit gotradeoffs.com to start the conversation. That's GOTREDAS.com. Trade-Offs, ingrained in your success. No, seriously, give us a call.
At Raising Cane's, we hand batter every chicken finger, mix every cane sauce, butter every Texas toast, stir every slaw, and salt every fry. Because when you do it right, you can taste it in every bite. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love.
Unearth the secret to long-lasting tires at Tread's Central Tire Pros, a league apart in commitment, service, and expertise. This isn't just about rubber meeting the road, but trust, safety, and surety converging in perfect harmony. This is where expectations are exceeded every time. Make your appointment today at Tread Central Tire Pros, just south of Cortland on Highway 77, or visit our website to explore our services. Remember, when it comes to tires, choose Tread Central Tire Pros because we tread differently.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstorats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
When it comes to concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction doesn't stall. They go for the takedown. As Nebraska's full-service concrete contractor, they stay in bounds, hold inside position, and never forfeit quality. Whether it's foundations, flatwork, or concrete coatings, they elevate performance and pin down results that win every time. Stevens & Smith Construction is a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. Because when it's time to wrestle with concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction slams expectations.
Do you ever feel okay in your current job and profession, but wonder if there's a better company that can offer more? Vision Mechanical is now hiring for journeyman plumbers and HVAC service technicians. Vision Mechanical offers top-of-the-industry wages, 100% paid health, disability, and life insurance, 401k with employee match, and paid holidays and vacation. Vision Mechanical believes in craftsmanship, teamwork, and building a better future one project at a time. Apply today or learn more at visionmechanical.net or email Ron at vmech.net.
You're listening to Walk the Herd on 93.7 The Ticket. Here is your host, Rebecca Pearson.
Welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket, Walk the Herd. We can be found on 402-464-5685 if you'd like to text in or call in. I'm in the studio with Kelita Bak, Vice President of Business Development at Nebraska Children and Families Foundation. But we're talking about making sure that youth have a voice in their life and in their world. And there's so much to talk about. We have a shortened show today because of the basketball game. Yay, Huskers, 84-75. I got it. Beat Iowa. It's awesome. And, you know, those youth are celebrating right now.
That's right.
Might be a couple of beers going down. And that's all good. Their voices are being heard, but it's a proud moment for us. We were talking about just where do you see opportunities in the world and the market for giving kids an opportunity to express themselves, let's say. So give us another example of what you've been involved with in the past or where you've seen that.
Sure. So as I mentioned when we first started, so I lived in Washington, D.C. for a long time. I worked with a number of national nonprofit organizations, and not one that I worked with, thankfully, but another one would sometimes, they would talk about all of the work that they were doing on behalf of kids, and they would get a whole bunch of adults in a room, and then they would have a young person playing piano in the corner. And it's like, well, this doesn't seem quite right, So, back to like how adults oftentimes just think, well, they know all the answers and they're going to do everything on behalf of these kids without actually including or engaging them. So when I first started in the youth development space, there was an organization called the National Youth Leadership Council. And they were started in 1983. And one of the things that they are known for is supporting service learning, which is a strategy for connecting volunteer service or community service with learning. So whether that's through the school day or out of school time, but and I can give a quick example of that. So picking up trash along a riverbed is service. Mm-hmm. If students take water samples, maybe from the local river, look at them under a microscope, that's learning, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, sure. Well, now if those students realize that there's a high level of pollution or something like that, service learning would be combining the service, the learning, and then the highest form of service learning is where you also have a civic component. So maybe those young people are speaking to their local pollution control board or the city council and bringing attention to what they're finding mm-hmm. In their local water source, and then trying to offer some solutions and being part of that solution. So in a nutshell, that's service learning. Okay. This organization runs the National Service Learning Conference. All right. And they've been doing that every spring for decades. And one of the things that struck me working for a different nonprofit, but coming to that conference it was the best example of youth adult partnerships that I had ever seen in my career. So it's a national stage. There are young people from first grade to college who are their own speakers on the stage. And almost every single year that the conference is held, it is almost 50-50 youth under the age of 22 to adults over the age of 22.
Mm.
So it really, that organization has always walked the walk, talked the talk. I had the pleasure of serving as their CEO for about 5 years. So I also know this organization very well. It is now exceptionally run by a woman named Amy Muirs, who is their CEO. She has also started, you'll appreciate this, she started the national podcast where she invites young people to talk about, the work that they're doing. So, so at that conference is one of, as I mentioned, kind of one of the best examples where you don't have young people who are just introducing adult speakers. They're not, I mean, maybe they're showing their musical talents, but they're not just playing the piano in the corner while adults are speaking. They're literally showcasing for the audience, here's the concerns that I saw in my community. Here's the projects that I helped to lead. Here's why, here's how it worked. Here's my passion. Here's my story. And so it just embodies what we could do. And every national conference that happens could do that. At Nebraska Children, we now work with an organization that has become nationwide called Partners for Rural Impact. And they also do a very good job of engaging young people. We were their conference last spring was in Alaska. It was in Anchorage. And so they also had a large contingent of Native youth who were a part of not only that conference, but because they have a lot that they can offer in terms of what's happening within their local communities.
Right.
In Anchorage and across the state. So, when you think about youth voice, it's also an opportunity where it should be open to all young people. So, just the diversity of voices that you can also hear when you talk to young people and understand that, someone from an Asian background perhaps has a very different experience than someone from a Hispanic background, even if they're in the same school, they're in the same community or whatever that might be.
Right. It strikes me what you're saying is that they want to be seen and heard, which is no different than the adults.
Right.
Frankly.
That's true. Everybody does.
And, are we doing our level best to make sure that we are seeing and hearing our entire population, which includes younger people as well, because as they're learning and forming, they are untainted at some level. Because they're kids. They haven't had the world experience that makes all of us jaded sometimes.
Well, or some of them have, but they're
they're
oftentimes more willing to share an unvarnished or more authentic perspective than somebody who, has been around the block a few times. And,
more dug into their point of view. And, that's really what this show is about. And it's a shortened show tonight. So we're actually having to close up, Kelita, but those both were great examples of how and why we should consider to take the youth into account and make sure they're a part of their future, whether that's teaching them something new or listening to what they have to say based on their experience, and certainly as they get into the mainstream adult community, that we're giving them opportunities. So thank you for joining us tonight, Kelita Bak, Vice President of Development at Nebraska Children and Families Foundation. We're now going to turn this over to Ricky Simmons, who has an esteemed guest. This is International Women's Day from 93.7 The Ticket. Walk the Herd. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Tomorrow is about the lessons we learn today. A farmer's market teaches us that community is grown together. Kids laughing shows us how joy is easy. And coffee on the porch reminds us to savor every moment. These are the lessons that shape a tomorrow we all share. One filled with trust, good company, and wide open dreams. That's the way banking should be. And that's Pinnacle Bank. Member FDIC.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah,